Welcome back to another video. Today we have an upgrade for the Bronco that isn't necessarily going to help the performance of it, but more than less protect it the next time we go off-roading. So let's go ahead and check out today's product from JKS. These are the JKS rear shock mount skid plates, and the reason I picked these up because the last time we went wheeling in the Bronco, I ended up beating up our rear shock mounts pretty good. And from my understanding, there's really no way around that, but if you know something that I don't, then go ahead and drop it down in the comments below. But in the meantime, we can protect our rear shock mounts by installing these JKS skid plates. Now these will work for any 21 and up Ford Bronco, no matter if it's a 2-door or a 4-door model. Now these JKS skid plates are going to be for the Ford Bronco that come without the Bilstein struts from the factory, but they do make a separate part that'll actually fit your Bronco if it does come with the Bilstein struts from factory. Now these skid plates are constructed from a 316 steel, which is the most durable rear shock mount skid plate that you can purchase for Ford Bronco. Now besides that, the integrated roost guard will be able to protect the actual shock body from any debris or obstacles while you're on the trail. But now that you know about these skid plates, let's go ahead, lift the Bronco up in the air and get them installed. Before we jump into today's install, if you have any questions about the tools that we're using, check out cjponyparts.com/tools or click the link in the corner of the video for a free video and PDF file showing you what tools you should have and how to use them properly and safely. So obviously our first step is getting the Bronco into the air, but now it's important on how you do this. Whether you're using a lift or you're using jack stands, make sure you're putting either the lift post or the jack stands on the frame because we are going to have to drop the shock, so you want to be able to actually have some movement in the rear end here to be able to do so. Now after that, go ahead and take the wheel off, and from there we're going to go ahead and loosen up the shock bolts and then work on the next step after that. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen this up. So now before we go ahead and mount our skid plate, we do have to do a little bit of modifying here. We actually have to cut this bracket down just a little bit. So as you can see, there's a hole right here and here. Basically, we're just gonna cut right in the middle of those two holes, and then we'll be able to bolt up our skid plate. Now that we have that piece cut, I have our skid plate here, and as you can see, it fits up in here nicely. Obviously, we have the bottom of the shock hitting it still, so we have to push the shock into place, and then we'll be able to fit everything up here. Now, before I go ahead and mount this up permanently, I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up this area and then spray a little bit of paint on it. That way we don't have to worry about it rusting in the future. It's now time to install our skid plate, but before doing so, you're going to want to grab the hardware that's supplied with the kit. You're going to have this giant bolt here, which is going to replace our factory strut bolt, and then you want to grab 4 washers and then the nut for the other side of this bolt. Now, as far as the washers go, you're going to basically put one on either side of the skid plate, so one on the outside, one on the inside, one on the inside, one on the outside. So let's go ahead and throw this on the Bronco. So if you guys are doing this by yourself, you're going to realize that trying to get the skid plate on and the new bolt in is a little bit of a pain. So I actually found a little bit of a solution here that'll help you out. Basically, you're going to want to grab a ratchet strap and connect it to the lower part of the coil spring. And then you're going to take the other end and hook it into one of the holes of the frame. And then from there, you're just going to tighten it up until the lower part of the strut actually slides into place. Now you still will have to kind of move things around a little bit to be able to get the bolt perfectly in, but this will help you out in the long run if you're doing this by yourself. So we get our skid plate up into place here, work our bolt through. As you guys can see, I got the bolt started. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen the ratchet strap up a little bit, and then that should be able to align up the other side, and then we'll be able to bolt this thing down. After some persuasion, we finally got our bolt through. Now we can throw the washer and nut on the end here. I'm just gonna loosely put this on here. I'm not gonna tighten this up just yet. Now before I go ahead and put the last nut and bolt in here, I actually want to admit my own mistake. So these skid plates are going to be side dependent. And the way that you'll find out which skid plate goes to which side is actually by this hole here. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab the skid plate that has the hole marked on the inside, so that way you can go ahead and install the nut and bolt that they supply with the hardware kit. So we got our bolt washer, slide it through, and on the other side we have another washer. Now that everything's loosely installed, we'll go back over it and tighten it all up. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the big bolt first that holds in our strut. We'll crank that down, and then once this is actually on the ground, we'll go ahead and torque these bolts. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the little bolt here. Now with this side done, we can go ahead and repeat the exact same process on the opposite side. With the Bronco back on the ground, we can go ahead and start torquing everything down. Now we're going to torque the main bolt here, which is the biggest one, to 350 foot-pounds. And for the smaller bolt, we're going to go ahead and torque that to 30 foot-pounds. As you can see, we're all wrapped up with the install, and honestly, it wasn't too bad. If you give yourself about an hour and a half, you should be able to knock out both sides with no problem. Now, I know a lot of you may not have a lot of experience or may not be too comfortable with using a grinder. I promise you, if this is your first time using a grinder, it'll go by very quickly. Just make sure you're using all the proper safety gear so you don't end up injuring yourself. If you'd like to purchase a pair of these skid plates, you can go over to our website and pick them up there. It is time to drop a gear and disappear. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, if you need any off-road parts, just click the link down below in our description.